2,341. That is the total number of playable chords on the guitar. There are literally thousands of chords at a guitar player's disposal. Unfortunately, it would take thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours for a player to learn and memorize all of these chords. Not to mention, many of these chords aren't exactly the best sounding. Luckily, the 80-20 rule can apply to guitar like it does to business or studying for exams. The 80-20 rule states that 80% of consequences or outputs come from 20% of causes or inputs. Stated more simply, putting in 20% of the work or learning 20% of the material can get you 80% of the results that you're looking for. When it comes to playing rock guitar, we can take this principle and use it to our advantage. In this 3-part video series, I'm going to teach you the only 20 guitar chords you'll need that will allow you to play 80% or more of all the rock songs that you love. What's up, alt rockers? America's favorite guitar playing ginger is back with some more guitar related content. In part 1 of this series, I'm going to teach you the 8 most common and necessary open guitar chords used to play rock guitar. So let's dive in. Let's start our rock guitar chord journey with open chords. Now, first of all, what is an open chord? Technically, an open chord is any chord that uses an open string. But when guitar players talk about open chords, what we're referring to are the basic chords that are going to use just the first 3 frets of the guitar. So we'll either be playing an open string using the 1st fret, 2nd fret, or 3rd fret of any of these strings. If you can learn to play the 8 basic open chords that I'm going to teach you today and learn to transition between them, you can play literally hundreds of rock guitar songs. Let's take a look at the D major chord first. The D major chord will be played using an open 4th string, 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. When we strum those 4 notes together, we get a D major chord. You'll notice here that I bring my thumb up and around the neck so I can mute the 6th string in particular, and also the 5th string a bit as well. We don't want those strings to ring out when we play the D because it makes it sound muddy and there's notes in there that shouldn't be. So we wrap our thumb around to mute those strings, so if we accidentally hit them, they don't ring out. All we want to hit is the first 4 strings. Now let's take a look at the C major chord. The C major chord will be played using the ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th, then we have an open 3rd, 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and then an open 1st string. When we strum those 5 strings together, we get a C major chord. My thumb is also up and around the neck on this chord as well to mute the 6th string. We don't want that string to ring out. It makes it sound muddy. Just the first 5 strings. Now let's take a look at the 3rd chord that we'll cover, which is the G major chord. The G major is probably the most complicated of any of the open chords, but if you can learn this one, you can learn them all. The G major chord will be played using the second finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, first finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th, then we have an open 4th and an open 3rd, then we have the ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd, and the pinky on the 3rd fret of the 1st. When we strum all 6 strings together, we have the G major chord. One thing I'll add about G major is that you can also play this chord without the ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd. We can leave that string open instead and move the ring finger to the 3rd fret of the 1st. That is also a G major chord. You can also use fingers 2, 3, and 4 to play it that way. So that would look like this. Same G major chord with an open 2nd string. But the most common way it's played in rock music is to have the 3rd fret of the 2nd string down. And we often refer to this G as the big G chord. Now in this case, there's no reason for your thumb to be up and around the neck because it doesn't have any strings to mute. If you have bigger hands like I do, it's still comfortable for me to have my thumb up here. But if you have smaller hands, and particularly if you're a brand new player, it may be more comfortable for you to put your thumb behind the neck. And I'll make a tangent here to tell you this. If you get lessons from a classical guitar player, they will never instruct you to put your thumb around the neck. It's not a common technique in classical guitar. And therefore, it's rarely taught to beginning guitar players learning guitar theory. But it is something that most good rock guitar players do. If you have big hands and it's more comfortable for you, please feel free to wrap your thumb around the neck. But if your hands are smaller, it's okay not to. Either way works. Okay, so we have 3 chords down. Certainly that's not enough to play any songs yet, right? Let's take a look. So I just showed you several popular rock songs that use only the 3 chords that we've learned so far: the D major, the C major, and the G major. Let's keep going. Let's take a look at the E major chord, which will be played using an open 6th string, second finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th, ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th, first finger on the 1st fret of the 3rd, and then an open second and first string. When we strum all of those notes together, we get an E major chord. And now let's add the A major chord. The A major is going to be played using an open fifth string, second finger on the second fret of the fourth, ring finger on the second fret of the third, pinky on the second fret of the second, and then an open first string. When we strum those 5 strings together, we get an A major chord. Now the reason that I use the second, third, and fourth fingers here instead of first, second, and third is because they're all playing on the same fret, and the space can get pretty cramped. So you can play it this way, but it does get crowded there. For me, it's easier to play with my last 3 fingers instead of my first. Either way is acceptable, but I'm going to show you a cheat that most guitar players use when they're playing A major. Instead of cramming 3 fingers all into the same space here, often what we'll do is just use our index finger to bar the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings, and then we'll mute the 1st string. So here we're playing an open 5th, and then the bar on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd. So that's also an A major chord, we're just eliminating the 1st string. Playing A major this way will really make it easier for you to transition between chords. So I encourage you to learn it both ways. Without the bar, and with the bar. And we'll dive deeper into bar chords in part 2 of this series. So now that we know 5 major chords, let's take a look at some popular rock songs that use some combination of those 5. So we've learned 5 major chords now. Let's take a look at 3 minor chords. Let's start with the E minor. We're going to play the E minor almost exactly like the E major chord that we learned earlier, but this time we're going to lift our index finger off of the 3rd string, and you can hear that darker sound. That sound gives it a minor tone. And the E minor is going to be played with an open 6th, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th, ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th, and then an open 3rd, 2nd, and 1st string. Okay, you can also play this chord with your 1st and 2nd finger. There will be times when that's easier. Either way works. And when you strum all of the strings together, that's an E minor chord. Let's take a look at A minor now. A minor is going to be played somewhat like A major. But what we'll do here is lift the pinky off of the second fret of the second, and we'll put our index finger on the first fret of the second. And it gives it that minor tone. What we're doing there is called flatting the third, which is what takes us from a major tone to a minor tone. We'll dive more into that in future lessons. But for now, all you need to know is that the A minor will be played using an open fifth, second finger on the second fret of the fourth, ring finger on the second fret of the third, index finger on the first fret of the second, and then an open first string. When we strum those 5 strings together, we get an A minor chord. And the last minor chord we'll look at is the D minor. The D minor is going to be played using an open fourth string, second finger on the second fret of the third, ring finger on the third fret of the second, and then first finger on the first fret of the first string. When we strum those 4 strings together, we get a D minor chord. And this is another good opportunity to bring your thumb up and around the neck to mute the 6th string in particular, and the 5th string if you can reach it. So I'm muting the 6th and the 5th in case I accidentally hit those strings when I'm strumming the first 4 strings to play my D minor chord. Now that we've learned all 8 basic chord shapes, let's take a look at some of the combinations we can put together. Congratulations on making it through part 1 of this series. At this point, you have 8 of the essential basic open chords that are used in thousands of rock songs. Now, it's going to take time to learn how to play these chords cleanly, and it's going to take even more time to learn how to transition between the chords effectively. But once you learn how to do these things, you'll be able to play all of your favorite rock songs with ease. Keep practicing and stick with it. Click the YouTube card up above to link to part 2 of this series, where we'll talk about bar chords and power chords and how they're incorporated into your favorite rock songs. And if you're getting value out of these videos, click the subscribe button to join the congregation and get more guitar lessons and guitar-related content every single week. Thanks so much for joining me, and remember, hug the gingers in your life because we do, in fact, have souls.